then you know it was me. If they're watching someone else, you don't even know if it was me, right? You think it was the other person. So it's more important to get the right information out, and as far as scaring people about tornadoes, scaring people about weather events, it's something that we do try to resist against, and I'm so sorry if sometimes television stations get into the race where we have a half an inch of snow on the ground and it is winter storm watch. What can I say? You know, they take the forecast, and many times we're in there trying to temper them. So we'll continue to try to do our best as the rest of the panel snickers at me. But Jim, sometimes, you know, you issue the winter storm watch. And all I gotta say is, when they say there's going to be 6 inches, well, I'm not going to say anything else.
Thank you very much. I like this. This is a really good question. Somebody said, what exactly is meant by low pressure? And so, could you kind of explain what we mean by low pressure, and how does that work with the storm scale? The doctor of meteorology from Northern Illinois, I think.
What is low pressure? It's low pressure. Well, in a storm scale sense, the important thing is that you can have low pressure and high pressure all over the place. Typically with a supercell, the low pressure, relatively speaking, get on the same, let's just say we're in the mid-level of the storm. Supercells, because of their mesocyclones, at that scale, it doesn't matter which way you rotate, anticyclonically or cyclonically, you have low pressure. It's kind of, at that small scale, it's called cyclostrophic flow. And so when you get to cyclostrophic flow, you're dealing with low pressure. Now, when you have that mid-level mesocyclone, and you have a relatively high pressure down near the surface of the Earth, naturally, you're going to have a pressure gradient force that's directed vertically. And that will tend to enhance your updraft with supercells. And that's what makes supercells so unique and prolific tornado and, of course, hail producers. But I'm not sure how else to...
Well, low pressure, generally, what you want to think of is that air pressure is how much air is above you. So if you can imagine a water wave, where I've got the crest of the wave, if I were at the bottom of the ocean, I'd have more water above me than where the trough of the wave is. So the air is doing the same thing. And low pressure means there's less air there, so the air is going to try to move into this area of low pressure. Really briefly, the Coriolis force, the spin of the Earth, influences in the large scale, but on smaller scales, air is always going to accelerate into that low pressure region. So at the storm scale, like Walker was saying, there's an acceleration of the air, and that's where if you ever watch a storm and it's drawing air in and the winds start to pick up, that's the reason air is going into that region of low pressure.
The big suck.
The big suck.
Type strangers?
That's right. I'm a Cubs fan. All right, we have a question about when's the text going to come from NOAA weather? Is that going to be texting to your phone?
Yes. It depends on what you mean by soon. Soon in government terms. There's actually in the works a plan to have emergency messages, not just weather emergencies, but any type of emergency messages texted to your phone. And right now, the National Weather Service is working with the major phone service providers, and this will be something that will go to every phone, and you can opt out of it if you don't want it, but it's not something that you may have to sign up for. I think one of the components of it is an upgrade to the weather radio system so that we have the right format of warnings going on in. But that should be coming on. Actually, the last I heard is they were shooting for spring of this year. I'm not sure if that's still on target, but it should be coming soon.
Oh, INWS as well, too.
INWS?
That's a tech site run by the Weather Service.
That's available for emergency managers only, right?
it's not the same as CMAX, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Chris, somebody was asking about people who are homebound and want to see stuff. What are your favorite sites to watch chasers?
My favorite site to watch chasers, or for where chasers should be watching weather? That was a question to you.
I'm sorry?
I'm asking you to
I was reading
Are you
questions.
asking me where do I want to watch chasers, or where do I want to watch the storms from home?
If somebody's homebound
Yeah.
and they want to see severe weather, you gave that thing about cameras and storm.
Oh, you actually want to watch what other people are doing
Yeah.
and stuff. Well, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of places to go. Some of the best streaming sites out there would be severestudios.com or chasertv.com, where you can actually go out there and watch other people's video streams come back in. A lot of the TV stations are starting to use the iMap tracker program. When you go out there, it will show you a map of where all the chasers are in the country that are streaming video. If you double click on it, their video will come up. Some have audio, some don't. But those are great sites to watch. And what I'll do is maybe sometimes put that on, go out to weatherunderground.com and bring up the weather radio for that particular site so I can listen to the weather radio in that part of the country, bring up radar, and I can basically do a virtual chase without actually leaving home. It's also good practice. You know, if you don't want to, you know, looking out here, we're talking about next couple of weeks, $5 a gallon gasoline up here, no doubt. You're not going to want to be doing a lot of driving. But if you do those virtual chases, you can safely, from the comfort of your own home, kind of watch. What would I do? Well, I would probably go that road. Is that what really happened? And kind of play it out without actually having to do it. And then when you actually do go chasing, you're going to actually get better because you've had all that virtual practice in the simulator time.
This is a question that's appeared 3 times. Why does the sky look green before it rains?
Well, the green sky effect is basically an artifact of how light travels and gets refracted through a deep cloud with a lot of precip loading in it. And there's still something of a mystery to it, but it's essentially as simple as light gets filtered out at other wavelengths except turquoise, blue, or green, and that's what you see. And that's the effect of loading through, or effect of the light traveling through tens of thousands of feet of precip that's suspended high in the clouds.
Skip, this is for you. When you're watching storms, what gives you the best sense that a tornado is imminent? What do you like to observe?
There's a couple of things that I look for when there's a tornado about to form. Everyone did a really great job pointing out, you know, what are some of the precursor features. The first thing I really look for is, well, the rain-free base. Sometimes you don't have that luxury if you're on a QLCS or something, but you want that flat updraft base. Next, you want to look for maybe a wall cloud, but you know, as not always a wall cloud.
Brett Forbes always tells you about a wall cloud, and they're never wall clouds.
And yeah, but if there is a strongly rotating wall cloud, that's, you know, a great precursor to a tornado. But the big thing I really look for is that RFD clear slot. So what you see is a hole opening up in the bottom of the storm. If you got that nice flat dark base, you'll start to see a brighter clear opening kind of punch through. It could be a hole. It could make the base of the storm look like a horseshoe shape. When you see that, that often precedes a tornado. And then what you're looking for after that is tightening up of motion and rotation on that base.
Roger, here's a question. Does